In today's episode of Mind Over Metal, we're talking with Brady from ENMY. He takes the stage in a different way, opening up about mental health, breaking down his writing process, and sharing the raw truth about what it takes to connect with fans and survive as a band. Stick around, you won't want to miss this.
But we were talking about ADHD and kind of that diagnosis. So what was that like, at a young age, knowing you had to go in and kind of be tested or observed for something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a weird situation just because you don't really know what it's about. And then kind of like getting a diagnosis of anything. You're just like, what does this mean? How does it affect me? Like, you know, that kind of thing. But I think one of the things that always stood out to me from that whole session is like, this isn't the end of the world. It's something that is manageable. You can deal with it. And there's plenty of successful people that have it as well. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that they had mentioned, but like one of them was Will Smith. I was like, okay, cool. I think maybe like obviously Jim Carrey probably as well. And they were like, you're like class clown, like so I feel like those appeal to you. And they were right. So yeah, just kind of like knowing that there's other people out there that deal with it. It hasn't hindered them too much.
Absolutely. So kind of feeling like I'm kind of like them, right? So
Yeah.
almost like a superpower type thing as a kid, right? Like these famous
Yep.
people. Absolutely. That makes sense. Awesome. Anything else that you can think of from maybe that time in your life or even later in life related to any type of mental health awareness?
Yeah, not that I can think of. I mean, that was kind of my first step into that realm of things. And I feel like most people were very like tight-lipped about certain things. So it's just like, and when you're young, like people obviously don't want that kind of stuff like out and about and like people knowing certain things, which I totally get because it's like, you don't want to stand out in a bad way. Uh, just like having whatever stigma attached to it. So yeah,
Right.
I mean, it's like I totally understand that as well.
Yeah, of course. And it's definitely becoming something a lot bigger, right? Like this awareness and this advocacy. I can agree that, growing up, that wasn't something that we talked about. Even if it was like a hardship, a loss
Hmm.
of a family, something going on, it was still almost like maybe maintaining kind of an image or
Hmm.
just not knowing how to talk about it.
For sure.
Right, because that is so new in today's day and age.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
True. I'm curious how that, played out in previous like generations. It's like they're just different. And like there weren't like different categories of like, oh, what is this? How can you treat this? What causes that kind of thing. So yeah, it's pretty wild to have like at least diagnoses for different things like that. So you'd like know at least some background where it comes from, what you can do to help fix it. Like, okay, and a big thing for me was I thought it was so strange that like now I'll have a cup of coffee and I'll be more focused than if I didn't have a cup of coffee. And I'm like, a stimulant to treat hyperactivity wouldn't be the answer I would expect.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting because you wouldn't think that. It just has, like, an adverse effect that it would on, like, a normal human being. It
Yep.
it's it is interesting, and we could probably talk all night about that, but we'll move on to the next ones. Kind of following that, I know we talked about the ADHD,
Mm.
and it's kinda something I'm assuming you've learned to, like, live with and, it's a part of who you are. But were there any other challenges maybe in childhood or even, like, teenage years that kind of shaped the way that you connect to music?
And I connected to music. I was actually just talking to my friend Corey today. We were, just kind of talking about like she goes, "Oh yeah, one of the ways that people listen to music is just like for the music, and then other people listen to the lyrics." She's like, "What kind of person are you?" It's like I'm both. Like I listen to both sides, and my teacher in high school, she actually like had us bring in a song that we really liked and play it for the classroom, and then we could dissect it, what we thought it meant. And up to that point, I don't think I really understood like most of the songs that are on pop radio. They're not like super deep songs. I feel like it's changed fairly recently, but yeah, back in the day, it was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna, I don't know, go to the club and do this and that. And it's like, it was very like topical. It was like very on the nose. So like her having us bring something in and like dissecting a song, and it's like, oh, like he's not talking about whatever, it's, he's actually like, it's a metaphor for this, or like talking about this other thing. But English teachers love to do that. You're like, actually, Gatsby caught the clock midair. It's like, okay, we get it. We get it. There's so much
Yeah.
symbolism. No, but like once I had that class, I was just like, it just opened my mind to all sorts of things, like interpreting different stuff in different ways. I don't know. Yeah, it's just like a mind opening experience. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm assuming that's probably the point in life where like maybe music felt more like just sound to you or more just more than
Yeah, I mean, well, music was always a big thing for me, but it always kind of felt like out of reach. Like I obviously didn't, up to that point, I never really like learned how to play any instruments. So it was just kind of like, it was cool and I appreciated it, but it was always kind of like out of my grasp. But I did have friends in high school that were in bands and playing stuff, and I would like sit in on their practice sessions. And I was always like sitting there, and I would either be like playing a computer game while it happened, or just kind of like hanging out. And I remember sitting at one of the pianos, like they had a piano in my friend's basement, and I would just kind of like play along so I could kind of like hear what key it was in, and like, you know,
mm,
somewhat play to it. And it obviously wasn't like upsetting them. They couldn't hear anything. So I was like, man, it would be really cool if I could like sing backup vocals in a band or something. And then later on, the bassist in that group, he and his brother and one of his other friends, they had a group together, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna play this homecoming show, but I can't play and sing at the same time. Would you want to sing?" I was like, "I've never sang for a band. Like he knows that I'm like a music enthusiast, but like I've never done that." And I'm like, "I can't sing." He's like, "Yeah, you can. I've heard you before." I'm like, "Okay, I don't know. So cool." But yeah, that was the first time that I ever sang with a group, and it was cool. It's a weird thing because I always felt like musicians always have this mystique about them. They're like, "Oh yeah, I don't know, he had a background in music, or his parents did this or did that, or he's got a really cool name or whatever." You know what I
yeah.
mean? Um, and yeah, I was just always like, "Well, I don't have a cool name, so I can't do that." So yeah, like Matt Skiba is a cool name.
Mm.
I'm like Glenn Danzig, that's a cool name. So um, yeah, I don't know. It's just like those kind of things, like those mental roadblocks that like keep you from doing something. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad that he like my friend Tim, he like pushed me to do that. Because look where I am now. It's like it's crazy. It's crazy to think about.
Literally a life altering event.
Yeah.
So kind of like opening that up, where did everything start to transition from there? Did you start getting more involved in singing, writing?
Yeah. So we and I won't mention the band name. But it was just like silly like high school band name. But yeah, we tried writing some original stuff, and we played cover songs, and uh, we like got asked to play like what are they called? Like graduation parties and other like different events like that. So like other people were booking us like, hey, you want to play this? So we would like set up all of our gear and play it. And like there were a few times where we tried to throw in an original song and people were not having it. They're like,
Oh,
play whatever. Like we want to hear this song. Come on. And at the time, it was like, I don't know. We did, I think it was a Weezer cover of Britney Spears or something. So like two of the song, like one of their songs and one of the Britney Spears songs were very similar. So they like cross pollinated. They took her lyrics and like, I don't know. We did one of those. But yeah, I don't know. It was just a really like we wanted to be more creative with things. And yeah, I one of there's actually another guy from that same high school that hit me up. He was like, "Hey, would you want to sing for my band as well? Like you can still you do your thing in this group, but we wanted to get something together and see what happens." And
mm,
I was like, "Yeah, I'm down." And well, the first group ended up like fizzling out. I don't know whether it was people were going to different schools or leaving town or whatever, but I was like, all right, I'll sit in on a practice. I actually got there before anybody else. So it was me and the drummer. And he was like very particular about how how to sing certain parts or do certain things. He was like, "Oh, can you sing?" It was a Green Day song. I don't remember what song it was. He was like, "Oh, can you sing this one?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like critiquing me on how to sing Green Day. I'm like, "Dude, it's a punk band. Like he's
Mhm.
yelling most of the time anyway. I don't know why you're being so particular about like this like specific notes." I'm like, "I think it'll be all right." But yeah, I mean, like the first show that that group played was like 140 something kids, and yeah, it was like I don't know, it was just cool. Like we found this spot that was in between ownership, so it was like completely gutted. It was just like like wood frames on the walls, and like I think it was like changing from a strip club to a law office or something, or like a cafe. I don't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, it was interesting how that kind of stuff like paved the way for where we are now and like what we're doing. It's just kind of, I mean, if anything, it's like a testament to like if you stick at something, you never know where you can go. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, things can just change over time and hard
Hmm.
work, right? Like
Yeah, of course,
and I'm sure there's been maybe, times over the years where it felt tough. Can you tell me
for
about
sure,
those times?
for sure. Yeah. And I was in that group, and I actually told part of this story to one of my friends recently. Um, Joey Sturgis is a big producer in our area, so he was originally from Connersville, Indiana, and I'd driven a guy from another band up there to record. I was like, I just want to meet him. Like, I just want to hang out and like see what what a studio is like.
Mm,
Because I'd been to a few studios, and I always felt like it's the like mom and pop feel, or like the DIY kind of thing. Those those spaces always sounded so much better for what we were doing, like the style of music that we were going for. So like, yeah, I just want to check it out. So went up there, just hung out, and it was actually during our lunch break. We like went to pick up food, and I drove both of them to the wherever we picked up food from. And I was like, "Hey, I'm in a band." I didn't tell them that I sang. I was like, "I'm in a band. Like, I want to get your opinion on this. Like, check it out." So he listens to the song, and I'm like, "All right, no, let's see what he says." He was like, "Yeah, it sounds pretty good, but you guys need a new singer." I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "Come on, man." But to be fair, it was um it was a song that was previously recorded with a different singer. So it was all of his melodies, all of his lyrics, and it was just like, some spots like drug on for a little too long, and there was just like different things like I wouldn't have done it that way, or I would have like had them alter instrumentals like, okay, maybe, it goes on for one measure too long, we need to shorten it or whatever. So yeah, I mean, that was kind of like obviously if somebody that you look up to, you're like, all
mm,
right, they're telling you that you're not good enough, but I'm like, who cares? I don't know. At that point, it's just like it's something that I enjoy doing, so I'm not gonna let somebody tell me that I can't do it because it's like people were like, oh yeah, Billy Corgan, I don't like his voice, or Bob Dylan, I don't like his voice. It's like, okay, it's all relative, and it's like people like what they like, so it doesn't really matter that much. And I've kind of run into that, time and time again with everything that I do. I'm graphic designer as well, and I remember one guy that was like the big graphic designer in our area at one point, like with there were like the big graphic tees with like cartoony monsters, like that kind of genre, like the scene graphics. So he was good at what he did, but he was like, yeah, man, you're never gonna make it. I was like, what kind of comment is that? It was like, was it the fact that he was like worried that I was gonna come in and like take his jobs or what? I don't know. But those comments were always kind of like stuck in my head like you're not good enough. You're not going to make it. You're not going to do this, not going to do that. I'm like, whatever. I don't care. like I'm obviously not going to stop. Like it's something that I enjoy doing. It's like, hey, you really are bad at, I don't know, coloring. Like, okay, well, I like doing it. Yeah, you're really bad at video games. Okay, I'm still gonna do it. Like I still enjoy it. So I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's like wrestling's fake. Well, I'm still gonna watch it. Like that kind of like
Man, but like how cool that you could still kind of keep that determination and like I'm still gonna do what I want to do, right? Because
yeah, I mean, yeah.
that can be a really like kind of altering experience to be told that you're not good enough at something that you love.
Yeah.
A lot of people do back down when they have an experience like that.
Yeah. For sure. And it's like, I think I wouldn't let that discourage people just because, you know, you have a few bad experiences like that. But at the same time, like I saw the other end of things, like the 140 kids at our first show and like people, you know, crowd surfing or singing along or whatever. So it's like, it didn't really affect me. It's like, okay, like I know we can improve on XYZ thing and get better. Like there is a progression to uh, anything that you do. You're like first time doing whatever. It may not go great the first time, but you keep putting in the time and effort, and then yeah, it starts to work out. And that's the thing with the current group. Like Enemy is like when we were in the studio, we're like, I feel like we're on to something. Feel like it's gonna go well. Um, but yeah, you just never really know, and it's all about showing up, giving 110% and just keep pushing forward. I mean, that's kind of what The Ledge is about. That song that's on the radio right now is like that in a bottle. Just because I wanted to write mental health songs. Like The Cure is about anxiety. The
Mhm.
Ledge is like ADHD. And it's like, no matter how hard I try, I always seem to like something goes wrong. And it's like you have the best intentions and you're like pushing forward and then something like off in the distance, you're like, what's happening? And then it just everything spirals. So you're just like, well, like you just kind of accept that there's gonna be stuff that happens and you just have to keep pushing forward. So and that's life.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, like that's great advice, right? Like, I mean, I feel like everybody needs to hear that at some point because we're all going to experience that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, that hard work was something that might have been instilled into you early on?
I mean, both of my parents are super hardworking, um, and they're crazy supportive. So definitely came from them. And I think, my older sister as well, just growing up and having those kind of role models. It's like, yeah, they probably didn't understand where I was coming from, just being like butterfly, a squirrel, but like them trying to rationalize with me on different levels of like, oh, he responds well to this, like let's try this approach. So yeah, I mean, it was a lot of guess and check. And I mean, my parents say this all the time. They're like, yeah, when you have kids, they don't give you a manual, they don't tell you how to do this stuff. But I feel like their love for me and my siblings is, that's it's just you have to figure it out as you go. And that's, I think I picked up on that as well. So
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like kids learn best by observing.
for sure.
Absolutely. So I was kind of curious, yes, I mean your lyrics are great. I've personally been bumping Clarity quite a bit because it's helping
Thank
me
you.
out. It's helping me out. Which I really appreciate. But I really love everything that you guys have put out so far. And so kind of writing about, anxiety or ADHD or different feelings or different experiences, what is that process like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's always kind of like in the back of your head. It's like, okay, what am I going through right now? And can I apply this to a song? And it's just like, there's times where the guys will send over an idea and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like maybe we could do this or do that. And it's nice when you're like in that headspace and you can channel that energy into that certain thing. You're like, oh yeah, this song makes me feel optimistic. We should like write a song like this. What usually happens is they'll send me instrumentals and then I'll write a melody over top of it. And like, oh yeah, I'm feeling like this kind of song. It's got this vibe to it. And then after the fact, I'll put like lyrics to it. So like most of the time, it's like nonsense lyrics and like maybe one word will stick. And it's like it's very much the like Blink 182 writing method where it's like na 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 na. So you just have to like fill those syllables with words that make sense. And then sometimes, something will stick and you're like, oh, maybe take that out and like replace it. And then, then you start coming up with sentences and you're like, oh man, like this is really coming together. So usually it starts off with a chorus and then I write the verses around the chorus. So that's kind of the process to it. I don't know how most bands do it, but I feel like that's why some of our stuff can be so catchy is because that's the pop way of writing. I'm just
Mhm.
like figuring out like a catchy melody and then going back and inserting words that make sense. And that's my biggest thing. Like I just want the songs to make sense and for people to be like, "Oh, yeah, I get it." So,
Yeah.
having that personal influence of like, okay, I'm pulling from this inspiration or this thing that's happening to me right now and, consolidating it into something cool. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Using it as an outlet, putting it into art, like
yeah.
that's really, and I'm sure the people that listen to you guys can feel that.
I mean, I hope so. I feel like people do, and it's so cool having people come up and like, it's one thing to be like, hey, your music saved my life or this or that. And it's like, but it's so cool when it's like this one song, like I identify with this song because this. And like those stick out to me so much more just because, it's that personal connection. And it's like, having, a guy named Chris come up to me and like, hey, Broken Man, like it's helping me so much right now. Uh, it's just cool. It's like, I had talked to someone recently, um, about the whole like process and it's like, it was kind of scary because we started writing like a little bit before COVID and COVID happened and it's like, we didn't know if any of these songs were going to see the light of day. So it was just like knowing that, we might release it and it would go nowhere. Nobody would hear it. Nothing would happen, whatever. Um, but I made the analogy of like, you know, it's kind of like, say you're in a like zombie apocalypse or you're in a spaceship just flying through space. Um, and you may be like hopeless or you may be like completely like lost or whatever. And then you get that one transmission. It's like somebody hears me or I hear someone else. And it's just like that genuine connection with another person is like, I don't know. It's so small, but it's so like profound. So I feel like I feel like that's kind of the thing. Like we're shooting out these songs and like people identify with it or like, yeah, it's, I don't know. It's a cool feeling.
Yeah, people are connecting to it, right? All of a
Mhm.
sudden it kind of just becomes this like, it's bigger than you, it's bigger than me, right? It's just this massive connection and it's so cool to see. I
Yep.
think that that's something that really takes place specifically like in the rock slash metal community for sure, just like kind of based on the lyrics and being able to relate to what's being said and what's being put out. And that's part of why I kind of wanted to make this connection, between mental health and music, because I think
Mhm.
it's so important. Yeah. A lot of people don't get involved in music unless they're pouring something into it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
But to be fair, I'm from Cincinnati, so like Northern Kentucky, but claim Cincinnati. But there was one night that I was offered tickets to see Demi Lovato, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna dig this or not. Like it's not my speed, but I will say like, I mean, you can get inspiration from anywhere. Um, and I was like, maybe she'll have like a cool thing with crowd interaction, or maybe she'll have a cool thing with her light show or whatever. Um, but yeah, while I was there, I was like, I don't know. I don't think I know any of her songs, but it was just cool because like a row or two in front of me, there was a mom and her daughters, and they were just like hugging the whole time. Just like cry. Like one song came on, they were all crying. I'm like, that's such a cool moment to experience, and it's like through music. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter like what it is or where it is. Like it's kind of like blasphemy for me to like, I'm like new metal. metalcore band, but at the same time, it's just like it's at the end of the day, it's music. So I don't know. It's cool to see that kind of thing, and everybody, everybody's got their thing. So it was just it was sweet to see that moment and like music being a part of that.
Yeah, that is so cool. How powerful bringing people together. That's amazing.
Hmm.
So when you're back in that like writing process, how do you decide like how much of what you've experienced to put into your songs? Is there certain things you kind of like stray away from?
Yeah, and I think, if it gets too like heavy-handed or too on the nose with certain things, like that's why people use symbolism or analogies or kind of represent things in a different way is so they don't have to like speak on that thing specifically. So yeah, I mean, most of the time I'm thinking of very specific things or like a combination of a lot of different experiences that I'm pulling from. So I'm like, okay, this happened with this happened with this person. Like, I don't like it's kind of like shower thoughts.
Mhm.
Like I would have said this or I would have done this or whatever. Or like sometimes my writing process, I'll be listening to another band and I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's a cool line or a cool lyric or a cool song idea, but I would have said it this way, or I would have done it this way, or that's not how I process things, but I could do a song that touches on that idea. So like you obviously get inspiration from everywhere. And I don't watch a lot of movies or like TV shows, but when I do, I always feel very inspired. So maybe I should do that more. I just feel I'm like at ADHD. So I'm like, I'm trying to stay on topic, but it's like, I'm trying to watch the show, but I'm like, no, I could do something else. I know what the plot is. I know what the resolution is. Like, why am I still watching this? Um,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
get
I mean,
that.
yeah, I think just pulling from all sorts of different areas and making sense of it. So like Clarity, Deceiver, like those are all songs about um like the process, like the last band that I was in, we got signed and people were like, "Oh, congratulations, this is it. Like you guys are doing it." And we got screwed over by the label. Like they took our masters and they went running. Any like advice to any bands that are listening to this, definitely learn from learn from us and definitely go over things with a fine-tooth comb. Like there are so many people out there that are looking to take advantage of young bands. And they're like, "Hey, you got a good sound. Give me your music. Like I will own it." And it's like, "No, don't do that. I've been there. It's not a good thing." So yeah, I mean those songs are about like people just being shady and taking advantage of people and, it's like trying to come to terms with that and like figure out your next step.
Yeah, how did
So
that go? How'd that go for you guys? How did that evolve throughout that process of kind of getting away from it?
I mean, yeah, it was a whole thing. So there was like a different group of people, and yeah, I took a break from music. And it was like they were talking about coming back. They're like, "Oh yeah, we're getting the band back together. We're gonna do this and do that." I'm like, "I'm done. I'm good. Like, how are we gonna do it?" Because we didn't have any control over any of our social media stuff. So like, I'm like, okay, we've got stuff on Spotify, but does anybody have to log in? Like they have the login. Like it says at the bottom, like their record company, like we can't do anything with it. So they're like, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna release new music? We can't. So yeah, it was a whole thing. And they're like, well, we're getting back together whether you like it or not. I'm not gonna have somebody else come in and sing my stuff. But that kind of just like fizzled out. And then actually Trevor, our bassist, was in that group for a minute. He went to the military. He was in the Navy in San Diego, and he came back. And I was at his welcoming home party, and he was like, "Me and you, we're starting a band." I was like, "Dude, I'm good. Like, what's the point?" He was like, "No, we are." And sure enough, here we are. So yeah, I
Oh,
mean, yeah, it's it's cool. It's cool that it worked out that way, and you know, um, just staying in touch with him and making this new group and having our friend Dave, who was in the music scene playing in other bands. Like you hear it so many times. It's like it may not work out the first time, but it's like everybody that was. I feel like there's so many bands that are like, oh yeah, we got people from this group and that group, and it's kind of like a local super group that comes together, and then it works. So yeah, we knew Dave. I've known Dave for probably 15 years or so. So it's just cool to like play in a group with him and Mike. I at least knew of Mike since college, like early college days, and I knew the girl that he was dating. She was in one of my classes, and she like spent all this time making this like customized candy box for him. She's like, "It's he's gonna love it," and it was just so funny because I'm like, I don't know many guys that would be excited about like a custom candy box, but I don't know. It's the thought that counts. And it was super sweet. But yeah, I was just like, that's how I knew who he was. I was like, all right, who is this guy? And I like looked him up, and then like later on, he sent me. I was like on my hiatus from music, and he sent me some tracks, and he was like, "What do you think of this?" And I was like, "All right, I'll listen to it." Like people were hitting me up to sing for their bands, and I was like, "I'm just gonna create a Facebook group, so whenever somebody's looking for somebody, I'll like send them in this group, and then they can figure out a group." But yeah, he sent me something, and I was like, this is really good. Like, who recorded this?" He said, "I did." Like, "Oh, okay, you got my attention." So it was, we were sussing things out, and then yeah, that's the group that we have now. It's me, Trevor, Dave, and Mike, and just out here kicking.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, just a whole series of events kind of bringing you out of your little hiatus after that. Yeah, that's awesome. So, last question here, I guess. If there's one thing or one message that you could give away regarding mental health to anybody listening, what would it be?
I mean, like I said, I think the biggest takeaway for me was that you know you're not the only person that has that diagnosis. It's usually named after someone. So that person was the first person to have it. But yeah, I mean it's, you're not alone. You have other people that are going through the same thing, and there's a wealth of information at your fingertips. You can search whatever, you can figure out how to deal with those things, and whatever the case is. It's just like, unless it's like a fear of talking to people, like that would be that would be kind of difficult.
Mhm.
Um but yeah, I mean just also just being there, just being aware that other people are struggling with whatever they're struggling with, and I think the cool part about music is that we can all come together, and all that stuff kind of fades away. It's like an escape for um you know people to just forget their problems and enjoy the night, or just put your headphones on and zone out. It's an escape from reality and the pain and the suffering. So, um, but yeah, I mean, summarized, you're not alone. Reach out, um, talk to someone. I'm sure there's someone close to you that has been through the exact same thing or knows someone that has.
Yeah, there's always help out there. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad it worked.